Okay, family, what is good? It is your boy Dways. You know the name, time, face, place, all that. And today, guys, this band is going viral, but they aren't even real. Crazy times we're living in. The rise of AI is upon us. You're finding that more and more influencers, artists, bands are able to garner a fan base, grow their followings, generate an income, and they're not even real. They're not even real people. What's going on here? Anyway, guys, this video is by Matty Balls. Pause. Like, comment, and subscribe to me as well. Your boy Dways or Blaze. Let's go.
Recently, a band named the Velvet Sundown has been getting quite a bit of attention
Velvet
online.
Sundown.
In just a few weeks, they have managed to garner over 600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, with many fans saying that they have been getting recommended this band's music through Spotify's weekly mixes and other algorithm-based promotions. But
Bro, some of us have been trying for years, bro. 10 years, and we only have 10 monthly listeners, bro. These guys have been trying for like 10 weeks, and they got 600,000 monthly listeners, 800K. They're not even real people.
very quickly on Reddit and other social media platforms, fans noticed something strange. The Velvet Sundown isn't a real band, and all of their members aren't real people.
Wow.
On June 5th of this year, the Velvet Sundown released their album Floating on Echoes. Just
What a
15
title.
days later, they put out another album called
Echoes.
Dust and Silence. Right away, it's pretty crazy to put out 2 albums in a row, but I guess it's possible. And also
Hey,
their
they're putting in that work, boy. Back to back on some future type shit, boy.
album covers don't look that great. Their music isn't really anything special and almost sounds soulless mixed with some really poor mixing.
Dust on the wind, boots on the ground,
Boots on the
smoke
ground.
in the sky, no peace found.
I won't lie, that sounds better than most things I'm hearing nowadays. So I can't even hate. I kind of like that. Soulless, but there's a feeling in that emptiness, bro. They're still creating a feeling, bro.
Over time, their tracks made it into people's weekly mixes or recommended songs on Spotify, and they began to rack up a few 100,000 streams, most of which actually seem to be organic, although it's very possible bots were at play. But very quickly, Redditors and others on the internet noticed something strange. If you look at their profile picture, the 4 band members don't really look like real people. Instead, they look AI generated.
This looks like a painting from the Jesus days.
Look even further at their Spotify description, it says, "There's something quietly spellbinding about the Velvet Sundown. You don't just listen to them, you drift into them. Their music doesn't shout for your attention, it seeps in slowly, like a scent that suddenly takes you back somewhere you didn't expect." Now, one thing about AI, such as ChatGPT, is it uses sentence structures sort of like it's not just X, it's Y. And once you notice this, if you interact with AI enough, it becomes increasingly easier to pick up on. But it doesn't end there. Before they were caught, they also had a fake Billboard review in their bio as well that said they sound like the memory of something you've never lived and somehow make it feel real, which is pretty strange that they just lied about having a Billboard review. The Spotify description continues to say, "The band was formed by singer and Mellotron player Gabe Farrow, guitarist Lenny West, Milo Raines, who crafts the band's textured synth sounds, and the free-spirited percussionist Orion Rio Del Mar. Together, they quietly build the perfect sound to get lost in." Multiple outlets, journalists, and internet sleuths have all looked into these people, and no one can find anything on them. Not one social media page, nothing. Also, their name is just pretty obviously ripped from the Velvet Underground. My favorite part about their Spotify description is when it says, "There aren't really any standout singles here, just songs that feel like they imitate conversations with yourself," which is really funny that they're just straight up acknowledging the fact that none of this music stands out at all. And it's almost like they're acknowledging that they are AI when the description reads, "The Velvet Sundown aren't trying to revive the past, they're rewriting it," which is quite literally what AI does. I've seen a few articles that are claiming that this band is making a ton of money from this, but at the time of recording, they have 600,000 monthly listeners, and since Spotify pays on the high end 0.005 cents per stream, they probably have only made like 3K from this, which definitely is a good chunk of change if they would continue to keep getting these types of plays. But
That's not that bad if you consider you don't have to do any real work. If you're just creating an AI artist, creating AI songs, everything's done by itself, and you throw it on Spotify and it's generating you 3K a month, $3,000 a month, that is not bad at all. That's not bad at all. Now, I don't know if the technology has come that far to be able to just do that autonomously. Some words I don't know if I'm saying them right anymore these days. But anyway, yeah, some things you can do autonomous, and and some you can't. I think nowadays, I think there's still a lot of human involvement in the creation of music, even in the AI music. But if you're not putting any work into it, bro, that's some good money, you know?
Fairly certain that since they've been exposed and this is a whole big controversy, it's just the peak of their plays and it's probably going to drop off next month. Regardless, once you leave Spotify or any other music service to learn more about the band, everything becomes very clear. So one thing that's confusing is once you go to like Instagram or Twitter, there's multiple pages that are pretending to be the Velvet Sundown. So
Why?
it's kind of confusing which ones are official and which ones aren't. This Instagram page isn't linked to them, but I've noticed a lot of journalists are reporting on this page, and it features a ton of pictures of these very clearly AI
The
generated.
guy who gives it away is the guy with the long hair. I just feel like he just looks so unreal, bro. He just looks
People that are
beyond
supposed to
unreal.
represent the band members. I mean, there's even a picture of them recreating the Beatles album cover where they're all just the same
What an
height. I
iconic
think this one
cover.
may have been previously linked to them and then they switched it. Regardless,
When
though, a lot of
you-
people
when you
are
wrote-
reporting on this page, making it seem official, but it isn't technically official. I also, strangely enough, found some Twitter pages impersonating them too. But the weirdest thing is that on their actual official pages that are linked to their Spotify account, they keep posting this creepy promotional video.
88 followers. How you doing?
Are you sure we're not real? Or did you just stream the dream again? You believed the lie and danced to it anyway.
Aish?
Paper Sun Rebellion, 14th July. Maybe we've already been there.
I can't lie, this aesthetic is dope. Like, this is dope. This is why I kind of don't mind AI music if it's done right. If it's done the right way, it could make something really dope. Like, this is a cool aesthetic. This is a cool vibe. Like, I like the aura that they give off. I don't know if aura is the word, but I don't know, man. You know, I'll talk more on that later.
Clearly, this entire situation is disturbing. I mean, imagine listening to an artist that you found organically, maybe enjoying the music, and then finding out that the people in the picture aren't even real, and that the music might be AI generated as well. It isn't 100% confirmed that the music is also AI generated, but most people are assuming that, especially since the streaming service Deezer has marked the music as possibly AI generated since they recently rolled out a new feature that can check for that. Many listeners have also pointed out that all of their songs and song names seem heavily influenced by other popular artists and bands. Regardless, people are very upset. One person said, Spotify has been shoving this band down my throat for the past few weeks. My Discover Weekly, my Daylist, my Daily Drive, my For You playlist.
So don't listen to it. Just don't listen to it.
This is nuts. Generic
skip.
plus mediocre psych rock with an essay of a bio and a fake band pic. Get me off this dystopic ride. In response to all the allegations about
This
them being
dystopic
AI,
ride.
the official Twitter page that's actually linked to their Spotify posted saying, to all the journalists who wrote about us, thank you for listening. However, these are the only official pages of the band. All others are reflections, echoes, projections. Don't amplify what isn't us. So I think the main thing they're trying to do here is dispel the rumors of that one page that has all the AI photos of them. But it isn't just Spotify's algorithm that's recommending this band. There's something even stranger happening behind the scenes. The Velvet Sundown is featured in multiple huge Spotify playlists that each have hundreds of thousands of
Vietnam
saves.
War.
Playlists like Vietnam War music, Good Morning, Upbeat
Wait, Vietnam War music is a play. Wait, what? That's
pop hits, and even sensual songs. Now, these aren't editorial playlists like
Oh
official
my
playlists that are
gosh.
made by Spotify, but they are definitely made
That
in a
is
way that
wild.
is attempting to trick the listeners into thinking that they are Spotify editorial playlists. And Velvet Sundown actually has 26
Did I just see a
songs in the
playlist that said Lucifer? Bro, what is going on in 2025, bro?
Vietnam playlist, which is like 8% of the tracks in a playlist with over 600,000 saves. This is a strange method people use where they try to build up giant playlists full of songs with big artists in them and then can be paid by people to have their songs put into these big playlists. Because people who are just mindlessly listening to these big artists in these big playlists will likely be fine with some Velvet Sundown songs slipping in between the rest of their queue. It's similar to if you've ever looked up an album on YouTube or like searched full album and played the playlist. You may have noticed that at the end a random 1 hour long compilation song will be playing, and that's how a lot of those playlist makers make their money. This is probably the main other way that Velvet Sundown has began to get recommended to people and got all this attention. But all of this left fans with a few questions, like who is paying to promote this AI generated band and who is actually behind it? One big theory that's been going around is that Spotify themselves are actually behind the Velvet Sundown.
Most
One
likely.
person was talking about how it showed up in their Discover Weekly, and a Redditor responded, not even just showing up by chance. Spotify is 100% intentionally pushing it. Back in 2023, I actually made a video that I ended up scrapping for some reason about similar allegations against Spotify. The allegations claimed that Spotify was releasing a bunch of fake music by fake artists and putting it in playlists, recommending it to people, and things along those lines.
That's why I didn't want to release it. You didn't want the smoke, my boy.
That they wouldn't have to pay out record labels. Many speculated this music was AI generated at the time, and also all of the songs were from a record label called Skytech Distributions. And the only website people could find about this record company shows that Skytech had released 195 of these stock photo AI generated name type of albums. The reason that Spotify would do something like this is because 2024 was the only and the first year that they made a profit. So before then, Spotify has consistently been losing out on money. One of their biggest expenses is paying out royalties to labels, so it would make sense that if they had their own music, all of that would go back into their pocket. And the threat of Spotify releasing a bunch of AI or fake or ghost music is very real, and it could cause a lot of problems for real artists. Even recently, Spotify was accused of hiring 20 different writers to write for over 500 individual artists on the platform. The journalist who published the story interviewed former Spotify staff, like playlist editors, who said a lot of employees didn't even know where this music was coming from. Apparently, a lot of popular editorial playlists like ambient relaxation, deep focus, and cocktail jazz all had these ghost songs with potential AI being used as well. Journalist Liz Pelly said Spotify editorial employees saw this new column on their dashboards pop up called Perfect Fit Content that was labeled music commissioned to fit a certain playlist/mood with improved margins. And I'm sure you guys can get what improved margins means at this point. Spotify for years has denied that they make their own music in-house, but with the amount of allegations coming from previous employees, it's pretty clear that this is something that is happening. There was even a report.
I definitely think that they do. I definitely think, I mean, it's obvious. Why wouldn't they want to make their own music? Because if they make their own music, they're keeping the money. Simple. It's just simple. So I do think that they would push to try and create generic bot artists that are not real, that they can just flood through the playlists and they generate an income and generate revenue through that without having to pay out royalties to anyone else. You know, it's a simple play.
That suggested AI could cause creators a 24% loss in the music industry if things keep going the way they're going by 2028. So it is very possible and probably already happening that Spotify is trying to get in on this early. But the only thing that makes this theory not really make sense when it's related to the Velvet Sundown is the fact that the songs were uploaded to a variety of different streaming services. If that's the case though, then who's behind this? Well, Rolling Stone was actually able to get a hold of the person who was behind this project. Despite all the theories from fans as this went viral, Rolling Stone was able to lock in an interview with the man who was behind the Velvet Sundown. Even though the Twitter account had been denying that it was AI, a man named Andrew Freelon said to Rolling Stone that it was actually an AI band. Also, we don't even know if Andrew Freelon is his real name or who he is, but I'm trusting Rolling Stone verified their sources. Regardless, he told them in an interview, "It's marketing, it's trolling. People before, they didn't care about what we did. And now, suddenly, we're talking to Rolling Stone. So it's like, is that wrong?" He continued to say, "Personally, I'm interested in art hoaxes. We live in a world now where things that are fake have sometimes even more impact than things that are real. And that's messed up, but that's the reality that we face now. So it's like, should we ignore that reality? Should we ignore these things that kind of exist on a continuum of real versus fake? Or kind of a blend between the two? Or should we dive into it and just let it be the emerging native language of the internet?" Very weird things he's talking about. Apparently, during the first interview, he claimed that AI was only used for the brainstorming of the music, but then he eventually admitted to using a program called Suno, which can generate music. Eventually, he admitted to using Suno to generate multiple songs, which leads us to believe that he used it for everything. He also said something sort of shady. When the interviewer asked him how he got onto those big playlists, he sort of dodged the question. He said, "I'm not running the Spotify backend stuff, so I can't super speak to exactly how that happened. I know we got on some playlists that just have like tons of followers, and it seems to have spiraled from there." When asked if they use playlists of their own, he said, "I don't have an answer that I can give to you because I'm not involved, and I don't want to say something that's not true." So in my head, this means a few things. It's possible that this was someone related to Spotify, or what might be more likely is it was one of the people who ran those playlists I was talking about, trying to make money by sneaking in their own AI generated tracks, which is actually kind of a really smart sort of scam. You know, you build up a playlist to hundreds of thousands of followers and then sneak in your own AI generated garbage music. Fans have said in response to the Rolling Stone article though, it's only been framed as an art hoax to cover their asses because the person in question got found out. Guaranteed this would have gone quietly unnoticed on playlists, creaming off royalties and taking up space from other artists for a number of years if Redditors hadn't spotted it. But Andrew Freelon also said something else interesting, and it was the fact that he used a program called Suno. Suno is a program that can AI generate tracks, and it's been picking up steam lately in the music industry, with even professional artists like Timbaland launching their own AI artists utilizing the same program. For example, recently Timbaland, a legendary producer in the music industry, launched an AI entertainment company called Stage Zero and an AI-generated artist called Tata. Timbaland said, Tata is a living, learning, autonomous music artist built with AI. Tata is the start of something bigger. She's the first artist of a new generation. A-pop is the next cultural evolution, and Tata is its first icon.
Ass pop? Is that what it's called? Ass pop?
Ironically enough, Timbaland said that he did this because he thinks music right now is soulless, which is really funny when you're making an AI artist, which is the definition of soulless. When Timbaland got a ton of backlash for this, another music industry executive came out in defense of him, and what he said was kind of crazy.
Do you know how hard it is to push an artist? They gonna tell you, I don't wanna do that. Jimmy Iovine famously told me one day, get you something that don't talk back. What is better than an AI artist that don't talk back?
There was also the incident back in 2022 when the AI rapper FN Mecca was actually signed to Capitol Records. Other than Mecca's voice, everything else was AI generated. Immediately, people were upset, not just at the fact that it was AI, but also at the fact that the rapper used the N-word and just seemed to be like a racist caricature of what the creator thought rap was.
See, if FN Mecca was actually fire, if the music was actually fire, I think maybe would have gone somewhere. But the fact that it was just racismo and trash, it just didn't help his case, you know, unfortunately.
It caused a lot of problems for FN Mecca, the first ever AI artist to be signed to a record label, so immediately he was dropped from the label, however that works. But this hasn't been the only time that record labels have worked with AI. For example, Warner Music Group, one of the big 3 record labels, started working with an AI company called Endel. Most recently, they were shooting to create 50 ambient sort of albums with AI. Regardless, I thought this was a very crazy thing, and as generative AI just continues to get better and better, it could mean trouble for the music industry, musicians, and music fans alike. So it's up to the listeners to protest against this while they still can before it becomes indiscernible from regular artists. And maybe one day streaming services will work on programs like Deezer did and mark songs as AI generated, and possibly even give you an option to toggle on and off AI generated music. I'm sure most people will have that toggled off if that were the reality. Anyways though, if you like this video, you might like my video.
So I was just about to say that, look, as long as it's labeled AI, I don't mind. If the music that's generated by these programs and artificial intelligence language models and whatever you want to call them, modulators, I think, you know, it's cool because we're headed there anyway, bro. I don't think it's much of a problem as long as it's always stated that this is done with AI. And I know that could still be a slippery slope. But here's my thing with music as well. I think that when it comes to music, bro, there's millions of artists out here. There's millions and millions of artists that you're competing with anyway, you know? And it doesn't matter, you know, how good you think your music is. Only the people decide what they like, whether it's AI or not, right? Just because you're making AI music doesn't make it good, bad, better. It's just another song in the ocean of songs that are out there. You know, it doesn't really make a difference to me. I feel like good art will always rise to the top regardless of how it's made. Whether it's with AI, whether it's humanly made, you know, it's always going to be the end result. How does that impact people? That's all that's ever going to matter. And you can never make the perfect song. You can never know what the perfect song will be. You can never know what people gravitate towards. Does it make it a harder playing field to be competing with AI and the millions of other real people? Yes, it does. But I think it's always going to become more competitive. Anything becomes more competitive. Anywhere where there's success and wealth to be made, like it's always going to get more and more competitive. It's just one of those things of life, bro. Until there's so much people competing in that arena that the prize becomes so small that nobody wants to really compete for it anymore. But I think with music, it's always going to be art-based. It's always going to be feeling-based, regardless of how that's created. You can't just say, oh no, AI artists will completely erase real people. No, because there'll still be real people making music that people gravitate towards, regardless. You know, and then there'll be AI music that people gravitate towards. I just think it should be clearly labeled and defined, and we should be able to differentiate between the two. Okay, this is AI music, it's noted, and this isn't. Now, at some point, it'll become indistinguishable. So, hey, I know it's going to be tough to really say, but I just think they should just at least try, because I'm not scared of the AI making better music than me or a human, because that's subjective, bro. That's always going to be subjective, you know? People are going to like the song for what it is. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy Dways on Blaze. Shout out to Matty Bowles. Yo, that name is just too crazy, bro. It's too crazy, bro. Anyway, I'll see y'all in the next one.